Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hi everybody, how you doing? Let's get this together here. Hello. I'm sorry that I wasn't here for you on Sunday, but I was at a friend's wedding, and yesterday I was just butt tired. If I'm being honest, I was just super tired. But I'm here now. So, hi, everybody. I am Carla Renata, in case you didn't know. I am the Curvy Film Critic. And what I do here is I talk about movies and I throw some interviews up every once in a while. I'm trying something new. Today, I'm trying to stream live on Instagram in addition to being on all the other platforms that I'm on. So, hello, everybody. Let me check these comments. Brandon, of course, has shown up. He said he saw the new My Hero movie this weekend. It's great. He loves the anime. Now he can't wait for Venom 3 this month and Hit Pig and Moana 2 next month. And you turn 30th on the 30th of this month. Yay! So happy 30th birthday impending. And we'll get to that when we get closer to the end of the month. Okay? Cool. So I usually start out the show with what I did the week before and all that jazz. So last week, well, actually, let me start with this. Yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day. And I come from some Indigenous people, so I would be remiss in not acknowledging that. But I love documentaries, and I just want to tell you guys about a couple that deal with Indigenous people and their tribes. One is called The Mission. Is streaming online. You can find that anywhere. Lakota Nation versus United States. You can find that anywhere as well. And then this one, Sugarcane, just got nominated for a whopping 8 Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, including the Best Documentary Feature. And I had the pleasure of speaking with the filmmakers from that documentary for a series called 30 Minutes with whatever film that is. So I'll show a picture of that a little later on. And then I went to my girlfriend Amanda's wedding. So that's my little outfit that I wore. She loves lavender. So in the spirit of the wedding, I wore lavender and some off-white cream-colored pants. These were all the friends that stayed in this cabin that I just showed you that came to celebrate Amanda. And then, of course, this is me and the bride and the groom the next day at a brunch where Amanda celebrated 5 years being a survivor of cancer. And that's her little dog, Jan, down there in the background. And her husband, Randy Taylor. So now Amanda Salas is now Amanda Taylor. Today for you, I have the cast of Rollerjam, which is going to be streaming on HBO Max. I also have the cast of Exhibiting Forgiveness. And I have an interview with Morgan Neville, who is the director of Piece by Piece. But let's get into a little Rollerjam action. Now, I watched this series on HBO Max, and it's fun, y'all. It's a lot of fun. It's helping to keep the skate culture alive. It's hosted by Jordin Sparks, Terrell Ferguson. Let me put that picture back up. Terrell Ferguson and Johnny Weir are the judges. So Terrell Ferguson is on the left. He is a former Soul Train dancer and is still very much involved in the skate culture. Jordin is in the middle, and Johnny Weir, U.S. Olympian ice skating champion, is on the right. And the two of them on the outside are the judges. But without further ado, honey, we're going to get right on in to this interview with the judges and the host of Rollerjam. What's up, fam? What's up?
Come on, Sparkle, let's go.
Yes, honey. I see you got the Sparkle memo too.
The feathers too. I thought Johnny was going to be doing
See, so did I. He's like, I got the jewels. Okay, you funny.
I got my jewels on.
Yes, jokes. So let me tell y'all, I thoroughly enjoyed this because I saw it as a way to keep roller skating, the legacy of roller skating alive, because it's been a dying breed. I remember seeing a documentary a few years back called United Skates, and they were talking about how at one point there was thousands of rinks all over the country, and now there's like maybe 10, if it's that many. And so I really love the fact that this is one of those things that's going to help perpetuate keeping the culture alive. Having said that, I was not the roller skater in my family. My brother was. Like, he would do the crazy legs and all that stuff. He was fierce, and he's like 6'5". I was good at rollerblading, and I was good at ice skating. So that brings me to Johnny.
Yeah, give it to me.
Baby, how did you navigate moving? Because I saw in the series that you said you started out roller skating, and then you transitioned into ice skating.
It wasn't in a real way that I was roller skating. To be
He's like, let me break this down for you.
Let me tell you a story. So I grew up in a tiny town in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is where the Amish are. I'm not Amish. I didn't grow up Amish, but it gives you an idea of how rural where I come from is. And I saw figure skating on TV, and I loved it. But we have no ice rink, of course. The first time I ever skated was on a frozen cornfield behind my house. As TV movie as that sounds, it's the absolute truth. But I learned most of my skills by roller skating in my basement, in the driveway, wherever it was, because I would copy the things I saw on TV and then try to roller skate it. So if I had not found roller skating, I never would have become an Olympic figure skater. So that's how important roller skating is to me, and how much of import I put into celebrating this community. So even though I'm not in it, I mean, all skating people are cousins.
You're in it now.
Yeah, I'm in it now.
Yeah.
Right.
But you wouldn't believe the amount of figure skaters that want on this show. I'm like, you got to learn to skate on quads. You can't skate on blades. Anyway, the ice people are coming for this TV show because they're expecting 25 seasons. Anyway, so I feel a huge responsibility as a skating person, because we are all family across wheels and floors and hockey sticks and whatever.
Yeah.
To do a good job here and to celebrate the talents here.
I love that.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a show cloaked in love, I'll tell you that.
I can see that. You guys have great chemistry together. You all work really well together. I wanted to find out, though, I know what my favorite moments were watching the show. Moments, not teams. Let me clarify.
Yes.
Moments. The moment with the team that was in all red that had the umbrellas. I love that moment.
my gosh,
I love the Jackson 5 moment because they actually did the Jackson 5 choreography. So I was wondering if each one of you have a favorite moment that kind of stuck with you after you finished shooting.
There was I can't remember which cruise it was because all of the battles were epic, but when it came down to the head-to-head battles, there were a couple that I just was like, the energy, I had goosebumps on my arms from, they wanted it so bad. I'm getting goosebumps right now. They wanted it so badly, and then to have to stand there and be like, one of them is going to go, because they were both so incredible. So that was something that sticks out in my head, were the battles for sure.
Mine is kind of off the beaten path because I'm in the culture still. And one of the things that really, it didn't shock me, but it made me kind of warm on the inside, was when someone got hurt. And we announced they got hurt, and all the crews went over and like hugged, patted the back, supported. And I was like, because you're going to 150
That's what
grand.
the culture's about.
150 grand is not,
Yeah.
that's real money. And as you say, life-changing money. But to see everybody go to that person and hug, pat, give not condolences, but pat on the back, encouragement. That was amazing to me.
Yeah.
I remember that moment. That was
like,
an amazing.
you're butting heads, and all of a sudden you're like, nah, this is for the culture, and they all came together. And for the culture, that's what I'm here for, and that was amazing to me.
I always looked forward, and I like every episode there was like this one moment, and maybe you guys remember, but it was so special, and it happened every single time. I would sit there in my seat and wait to see which contestant Terrell would make cry first.
Oh my
I'm kidding. It was a long setup. There are so many standout moments, and that's the thing about Rollerjam, is that they all knew what was on the line. They all knew that they were among the best of the best, the creme de la creme of American roller skating. And there were so many moments because they brought it every single week. The stronger teams sometimes faltered, and then the weaker teams, they stepped up, and then the stronger team came back.
That's competition, though, right?
It is.
That's competition. That's what happens. Without letting y'all go, I have to address the styling situation, because y'all were giving me fashion in the roller rink.
Did you have individual stylists, or was the stylist of the show was the person that dressed you guys?
Well,
I think Johnny had an individual.
you know what? I had my friend Nola Roller help me out, and she ended up helping out the whole show, and she did such a good job. And we've worked together for a long time. I mean, generally I do myself, but if I don't have time or I'm busy or it's a long show, I call Nola, and she rocked it for the
look
Skaters
fabulous.
Festival. Thank you. I was very big sitting there often. I was like a full gallon of ice cream with like one little cherry for a head. You know, it was just
hilarious.
big outfits.
I enjoyed it. I felt like I was playing dress up every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a theme and I ran with it.
Don't
They said
threaten us
six
with a dress-up party.
Literally, it was so fun. And I will say that this was one of, in terms of like my career and jobs and things like that, it was one of the most fun things I've ever been a part of, and easiest, to be honest. I mean, it probably was a little bit more challenging having to judge, but I just got to enjoy myself. So I had a blast. I really, really loved it.
You look like you had a blast.
I had a great time. I also had Nola. Nola came in, and what I appreciate is we had the same person, but we weren't the same person. She found all of the eras, but in what Terrell would be in that era. And she found all the eras in what Johnny would be in that era. And then we got to play with my hair, and so that was fun. I was so sad though, because for the 80s, I was gonna go old school kid and play and do the high top, because I did Afro for the 70s, and I was gonna do the high top fade, but we couldn't cut my hair. So I didn't get to do my kid and play for the 80s.
That's all right, but y'all were
Season
serving
23.
looks Luks, honey, and I was there for all of it.
Thank
you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, truly.
Jordin, and you know I was gonna come and support you. Now,
Thank you
I wasn't
for
gonna get
coming.
no email that you were.
I loved this show, you guys. So let me give you just a little more information than I gave you going into the interview. You heard Terrell talk about decades. So each episode deals with a different decade musically that the skating crews have to choreograph the number to. There was a lot of camaraderie, like they said, amongst the crews. And it also illustrates how dangerous roller skating is, in addition to assisting with keeping the culture alive. I kind of love that. There were crews from all over the country, and they were competing for $150,000. This show is produced by Chip and Joanna Gaines. It's a new competition. It has already premiered on October 10th. It is over on Max, HBO Max, so you can catch the first couple of episodes there. And yeah, it's fun, and it's called Rollerjam. Exhibiting Forgiveness is a film that I saw at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year, and it was one of my favorite films. It's going to be in theaters on October 18th, which is coming up later in the week. But I did have an opportunity to speak to the director of Exhibiting Forgiveness, Titus Kafar, who also he's an artist, and so his work, let me make sure I have the banner up. His work is being featured at this gallery in Los Angeles. So if you were in Los Angeles in the Beverly Hills area, Titus Kafar's works, his paintings, are being showcased and exhibited at this particular gallery. You can do a screenshot of that or however you want to do it to get there. But if you're in the Los Angeles area, please do yourselves a favor and check out his works. But until then, you can listen to this interview with the director and the writer and the producer of Exhibiting Forgiveness, Titus Kafar. Hi, Titus.
Carla, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm so good. I saw this at Sundance, and it was hands down one of my favorite films from the festival. So congratulations.
Thank you, Carla.
What was it that sparked the conversation, or what was the spark that set this film into motion for you?
It started as a documentary. I don't know if you know that, Carla. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah. So it started as a documentary. I went back to Michigan to visit my grandmother. And when I showed up at her house, my father was there. I hadn't seen him in 15 years. I didn't really want to talk, but my grandmother wanted us to talk. And as I say all the time, I don't know what your relationship is with your grandmother, but when my grandmother tells you to do something, it's not a request. You just do it. So she said I needed to talk to him. And so I'm sitting there trying to figure out how I'm going to talk to him. And so I have a camera on my shoulder, and I just say, okay, if you want to talk to me, then I get to film you. And so I went to his house, very much like that scene in the basement, and just started shooting. That's kind of where it began. Then there was a whole writing process later, but that was much later.
I love that. My grandmothers are no longer with us, but when they were here, yeah, it's not a request.
Nope. No.
It's not. If you got a black grandmama, it is definitely not a request.
Don't make that mistake. Don't make a shoe
no,
might be
honey.
coming your way. Don't make that mistake.
Listen, they'll take you out in one fell swoop. Don't even play. So, your artwork, by the way, is exquisite.
Thank
And
you.
I wanted to know what inspires you to paint as opposed to being a filmmaker, which is not a solitary process.
Woo, it is definitely not a solitary process. I mean, painting is like my first love. I will always paint. I think the thing that's interesting about this film is it was both a body of paintings and a film at the same time. So a lot of people don't know that you can actually see all of the paintings that I made in this film at Gagosian Gallery in Beverly Hills. If you happen to be in LA, you should check that out up until November 2nd.
I live in LA. Oh my God,
Go
I
check it
can't
out.
wait.
Go check it out up until November 2nd. So I you know, there are certain things that you can say and do in painting that you can say and do in no other medium. And there are certain things that you can say and do in film that you can do in no other medium. And so I want to be bilingual. I want to speak as many languages as I possibly can, because sometimes the thing that you want to say is best said in French, and sometimes the thing that you want to say is best said in English. You are limited if you only speak one language.
Baby, the cast and crew of exhibiting forgiveness are dropping nuggets on me today. Okay, I heard you. So each person in this film, including yourself as the writer and the filmmaker and the artist, has put their brushstroke on the canvas of this film, right?
Yeah.
What brushstroke are you most proud of contributing with exhibiting forgiveness?
It's interesting. It feels difficult for me to feel prideful about it because I feel like the work was done by Andra, Ingenue, John, Andre, right? Like those people showed up for me and they are the reason this film is extraordinary. I mean, you see Andra Day like sing that song like in the film.
We talked about it when I talked to her, yeah.
I mean, Andra is not, she ain't regular. Like
She's not regular.
No, she is not. And that was true of everybody in my cast. So there's no good reason I should be making my first film with these extraordinary actors. They are so far beyond me, but they had faith and were willing to go on this journey with me. And that is what made this film what it is. So I guess I'm proud of my cast.
Okay. And closing it out, Titus, you are extraordinary. I need for you to know that you are extremely extraordinary. And that is why you attracted an extraordinary cast. And I think there's no better way to end this conversation than on that note. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I'm going to check out your exhibit because I do live in LA. And thank you for giving me that intel.
For sure. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, Carla. How are you? Good to see you.
It's good to see you, sis. I enjoyed you in this film so very much. I really enjoy your acting.
Thank you.
I really do. And I hope you get to do a whole lot more of it.
Thank you.
Because you're absolutely spectacular at it.
Thank you. I received that.
Oh, you should.
So, hey, and I hope I get to see you every time.
Girl, it's a date.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about your musical process as it pertains to creating bricks, particularly these two lines. Who can say we're not a miracle, learning to heal when no one ever healed us?
Yes. I think so. Thank you for starting with that. So yes, I think that actually kind of sums up the song for me, and the reason sort of I went this direction with it is I think that Terrell's story and Aisha's story, one of the things that we decided was that Aisha has her own family trauma, and that Terrell and Aisha have decided, to live a healthy life. They've decided they want to build a healthy home life for their son so I just think that in general in life, it is a really great miracle. I think it can be lost on us sometimes because we're just living. But the fact that we are able to build realities and build futures that we've never experienced, I think is one of the greatest miracles of life. Like, how do you produce a loving, non-toxic household when you came from a toxic household, or you came from, and so, you know, our parents necessarily weren't healed people sometimes, and oftentimes, especially with our mothers who maybe weren't able to even speak about their trauma and the things that they had to deal with and had to overcome, and how they had to support their families and their, you know, and so, and the same thing with our fathers and who were there or who were not there, you know. And so I think that obviously they say hurt people, but I think there's this other miracle that happens, that hurt people can also produce somebody who is determined to heal and determined to be healed. And I think that us being able to do and create something we've never seen before is an incredible miracle to me.
I love that. What a beautiful
Oh,
answer.
thank you. Thank you for paying attention to the lyrics of the song. I love you.
Girl, yes, that's my thing. Listen, let me not mess up my time.
Right.
Each person puts their brushstroke on the canvas. You
Yes.
did your brushstroke with your song and with your performance.
Yes.
What are you most proud of contributing with Aisha in exhibiting forgiveness?
Wow, that's a really great. I think it's a little bit of both. I think I'm very proud of being able to contribute, even on set, like support. You know what I mean? I really wanted things to go incredibly well. I think we all did, you know, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to let the support that my character plays on set bleed into my life on set with the director and with the actors and with the, you know, so I think that's definitely something I'm proud of, is trying to sort of, you know, just support everyone in this environment, you know, and then I think also even musically, because I think everything in the film dances so well. The art dances perfectly with the story, and the characters dance perfectly with the music, and it kind of, you know, adds color to these canvases as well. So I'm proud of that. It's probably one of my favorite songs I've ever written, and we did a few sketches with Titus and Jarek, who produced the song and the sketches for it. And so I think what we were able to add to the movie with that, I think made such a, what could be a really harsh story, made it a beautiful sort of symphony. It made it a very classical piece, you know.
I love that. You gave me such beautiful answers.
Oh,
I wish
thank you.
Yes, I wish I had more time to speak to you, but that is my time.
Oh, thank you
Angela,
so much.
thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm sure it won't be the last time.
No, it can't be the last time, please. And you asked wonderful questions, so thank you so much. I'm like, great questions beget good answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll
Bless
see you
you.
next
Good
time.
to see you. Take care. Bye.
It's so wonderful to see you. You know what I love about seeing the two of you together? There's something about actors that inhabit the words and the worlds of August Wilson that when they go into other projects, y'all just kill it every single time.
Thank you so
every
much.
Single time.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Absolutely. So what I'd like to know is, each person puts their brushstroke on a canvas, right? What brushstroke are you all most proud of contributing in terms of the characters Terrell and LaRon?
It's a good question.
It really is a good question.
I love what you said about August Wilson. You know, this man right here is the August Wilson legend. You know what I mean? So
I know this, but you ain't no slouch yourself.
That's
so
right.
well, I
That's
appreciate it.
right.
I
That's
appreciate
right.
it. But you know, I'm trying to keep up. I think
Call
you
a
know.
spade a spade.
I think that for me, one of the brushstrokes that felt most important to offer to the story was the vulnerability. I think that Terrell is a character who resisted sharing his vulnerability, you know, and it was important to me to find those moments where we got to see that crack. Like, for instance, when he's in the room with his mom, you know, in the hospital bed, we see it crack. When he's, you know, looking at the home videos and reflecting on, you know, all that's been lost, we see him crack. And even like in the scenes with John in the basement, you know, you start to see little cracks happening. So offering him like a sense of my own vulnerability felt like an important brushstroke. What about you?
I love that.
Well, for me, I think every moment I had a chance to be on screen, opposite of all the actors that I was working with. I wanted to at least see how many colors I had. To bring those colors to life, because I knew that Titus was working from a big canvas, and figured, hey, this is time to go into my book of colors and just bring that to their emotions and to the reality of what he was trying to portray inside the film.
I love that. That was beautifully stated on both of your parts. Speaking of Titus, I know that working with a first-time director can have challenges and it can have a lot of freedom. What would you say was the freedom that you guys got to enjoy working with Titus, who is an artist in a different sense?
I'd say for me, one of the things, I'm an actor who likes to work super collaboratively, right? Like, I'm not a person who likes to just show up and just do what's on the page. I come with a lot of ideas and questions and thoughts. And so for me, it was really cool that Titus was open to those kinds of conversations, and out of those conversations, I think came some improvisations that helped us to discover some things about our characters. And then even on set, on the days, we were allowed to, we weren't improvising like crazy, but there were moments where we were able to add in things that we felt were appropriate. And many of those things made it into the film. So I think that, like you were saying, John, that somehow that like spirit of doing a thing for the first time creates a sense of like openness and playfulness that allows for new things to come in. So I think it was a wonderful experience. I say top to bottom.
Yeah. You wouldn't know that he's a first-time director. I mean, by what he knew he wanted. But what I really love about Titus is that he may have been a first-time director, but he wasn't a person that wasn't familiar to the art itself. He's an artist. Mm-hmm. So he's a creative artist. And he knew what he wanted. And like you were saying, he was open to collaboration. So when we walked in, sometimes he would ask, what do you think? I thought that was cool. What do I think? I think this, that. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it was never any wrong. It was all let's think about how we can get the best out of this, the best shot, the best look. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. So once again, I wouldn't even say he was a first time director, although he is. But he knew what he wanted. I thought that was great.
I love that. It's my time, but I want to leave y'all with this James Baldwin quote. If the relationship of a father to a son could really be reduced to biology, the whole earth would blaze with the glory of fathers and sons. Y'all blazed a glory in this film that I can't even begin to articulate. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Take care.
I can't even impress upon you how much I enjoyed this film. And I'd like to thank Andra, John, Andre, and Titus for giving me the time to talk to them. So let me tell you what Exhibiting Forgiveness is about. It is a film dealing with a father and son, and the son is struggling with the weight of expectations placed upon him. And through his paintings, the son explores the complexity of his identity, his fractured relationship with LaRon, his dad, and the legacy of pain that has been passed down through his family. And he has to decide whether or not he can forgive this man, i.e. his dad, who caused him so much pain, and break the cycle of hurt that threatens to define his life. That is the gist of this film. It's Terrell's journey, and Terrell, if I didn't say it, is being played by Andre Holland. It's Terrell's journey toward understanding, healing, and ultimately the possibility of forgiveness, not just for his father, but for himself. It's loosely based on the director Titus Kafar's experiences with his father, as you heard him mention in the interview that we did together. The most haunting image of his paintings that is in this film is one of the paintings where he's pushing a lawnmower up the hill, and the image of him is cut out. And for me, that represented him hearkening to a life that is now full circle and breaking away from that past that tethered him to that moment with that lawnmower. Ingenue Ellis Taylor plays Terrell's mother. what can you say? Ingenue just knocks it out of the park every time. And she's got 2 other films out this year. You can also see Ingenue, actually 3 more. You can also see Ingenue in Origin. You can see Ingenue in The Deliverance. And you can also see Ingenue in Nickel Boys. So she's on a roll right now, and deservedly so. Andra Day gets better and better with each film, as does Andre Holland every time I see him. With every project, he breathes new life into it, alongside his co-star John Earl Jelks, who can also be on can be seen on episodic television. But what he does with LaRon in this film is unarticulatable, if that's a word. And I think the best way to sum up this film is so eloquently stated by one of my colleagues at the Hollywood Reporter, Lovey. She says it's a masterclass in a harmonious match of actor and director. And that is the best way to describe Exhibiting Forgiveness, which will be in theaters on October 18th. Caddo Lake is a film that is streaming on Max right now. It is in the M. Night Shyamalan zeitgeist of paranormal thrillers. But before I get into it, let me acknowledge my peeps that have come up in here. Thank you, Sav Productions, for wishing Brandon happy birthday before Halloween. Yay. And then thank you for giving me my flowers. I appreciate you. And look at Brandon. I have such polite and mindful listeners and watchers. And then Brandon also says he's been watching a new season of My Hero, and it's sad to hear that the next season is the last. That is indeed sad news. All right, so let me get back into Miss Caddo Lake. It's a paranormal thriller, which is streaming on HBO Max right now. And it's starring Dylan O'Brien, who also is having a moment. He also has the Saturday Night movie out, which is dealing with the very first broadcast of Saturday Night Live, directed by Jason Reitman, who is Ivan Reitman's son. And Ivan Reitman was in Ghostbusters and a bunch of other things, as well as appearing on Saturday Night, or a writer for Saturday Night. But anyway, earlier this year, M. Night produced a vehicle for his daughter called Trap. So we're seeing him turning over his writing and directing reins to the team of Celine Held and Logan George for this particular project. And this one noted that this one went into production about 3 years ago under the title The Vanishing at Caddo Lake, while Shyamalan was still working on the now wrapped Apple TV Plus series Servant, which happens to be a key credit for his filmmakers with this project. Are you with me? Good. All right. So the actual Caddo Lake sits on the border somewhere between Texas and Louisiana. It is so beautifully shot, and shout out to Lowell A. Meyer, the cinematographer for this, because it's exquisite. The story focuses on Paris, played by Dylan O'Brien, who is fixated on the tragic death of his mother due to a car crash on the lake, something he seems completely obsessed with solving for himself, and trying to tie into his mother's seizures. It goes into a bigger mystery. On the other hand, we have this little girl named Ellie, who is distraught over the disappearance of her father and is in a tense relationship with her mother, and is idolized by her 8-year-old stepsister, Anna. And then Anna goes missing. And then, just like Dylan's character, they're both trying to figure out, Anna's trying to figure out where her sister is. Dylan's trying to figure out why his mama died. And, not Anna, Ellie. Ellie's trying to figure out where her sister Anna is. And Paris is trying to figure out, if these seizures were tied to something else, i.e. the lake and the paranormal supernatural powers that are happening in the lake. There's lots of twists and turns. Some of them make sense, and others kind of have you going, what the hell is happening? Especially when they flip into 1952. You're like, okay, I'm gonna try to hang with y'all, but I'm not sure I know what's going on. But what I will tell you is that I enjoyed it. It kept me intrigued. It kept my attention span, right in the pocket. So I enjoyed it. So again, Caddo Lake is streaming on HBO Max. So check it out. Don't forget to check out Exhibiting Forgiveness. I also want to say that Andre Holland is in some multiple projects as well. You can catch him in The Big Cigar, as well as Exhibiting Forgiveness, which is going to hit theaters on October 18th. And in addition to Ingenue and Andre having multiple projects, my girl Andra Day also has multiple projects that are out. The Deliverance, which is streaming now on Netflix, and Exhibiting Forgiveness, which will be in theaters, yes, on October 18th. Woman of the Hour is Anna Kendrick's directorial debut. It is now streaming on Netflix. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but I wanted to come back on camera and tell y'all. So remember, I was telling you how I went to Telluride, and there was this Lego movie that Pharrell did, and how fabulously excited I was about it. And they're saying it's a documentary, but I beg to differ. It's more like an animated biopic is what it is, but they're putting it in the documentary lane, and I'm not really quite sure why, but kudos to them. But I got a chance to talk to the director, Morgan Neville. Now, Morgan Neville, if that name sounds familiar to you, he also directed 20 Feet from Stardom, which got all kinds of critical acclaim and did win an Oscar. So without further ado, here's my interview with Morgan Neville talking about Pharrell, Legos, and synesthesia. First and foremost, I heard you say something about the music aspects of this film unlocks the fantasia of it all. So for you, I'm just wondering how using the combination of your documentarian background combined with the animation brain that you needed to use for this helped you bring it all together.
For me, it was such a fun way to play because I don't get to do that stuff much in documentary, you know, and suddenly like being able to take Pharrell's imagination and try and see his imagination, you know, that was the thing that got me really excited. So, you know, when he started talking about, when the first time I interviewed him for this, and he was talking about his synesthesia, which means he sees color when he hears music, I just thought, oh my God, well, we could see that. We could actually see what he sees or some version of it. So, you know, every song in the movie, I would ask him what the colors of the song were. You know, so it gave me a guide. It was like, oh, well, he sees this song is like an emerald green with a gold, you know, edge on it or something, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, that just gives me something to work off of. Like, it's kind of amazing raw material for an animated movie. And then just trying to both craft a story, but then craft a visual story that matches, you know, the kind of magical thinking of Pharrell, you know, which is great. Like, it's the freedom was amazing. You don't get all that freedom normally.
I think I heard you say that one of the scenes that you animated was the one of my favorite scenes, the ones with the Stevie Wonder music where he starts to see color. Can you talk about that particular sequence, since you did touch upon him seeing color a little earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we first started to work on this, we weren't 100% sure it was going to work. We weren't sure Lego was going to say yes. We weren't sure people were going to give us enough money to make it. And so we did this little proof of concept because Pharrell had told me about being a boy and listening to his stereo, and that he would see colors coming out of the speakers, and that particularly people like Stevie Wonder. And so I cut together this little piece. It's maybe 90 seconds, and we animated it in Lego just to see, like, is this idea going to work? And it turned out so great that everybody I showed it to said, I want to see that movie. Whatever that movie is, I want to see that movie. And Lego said yes, and then Universal Pictures and Focus said yes, and like it just became the proof that this would actually work. But that moment was kind of the key moment for us to see how this could all work. I mean, the synesthesia was like unlocking the connection between the real world and the imaginary world that exists in music all the time, but we could actually see it.
One of my other favorite scenes was the gospel choir, because you guys perfectly animated the way people would really behave as though they're singing in a choir or in a church, listening to the choir sing. I got my entire life with that segment right there. I had never seen anything like that before.
You know, I did a film called 20 Feet from Stardom, which is a lot about,
you did.
you know, I spent a lot of time dealing with women that came out of gospel singing in churches, and so we talked about that, and I put in clips of movies to look at to figure it out. And then for that song, we actually got Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band to sing that song, because that song is a Pharrell song that he used to sing lead on. But then I had the idea that his preacher would sing this song to a young Pharrell because of the advice of that song. And Pharrell was like, you got to get Uncle Charlie, so Charlie Wilson did it and killed it. He was great. So he's our pastor.
I love that. That is one of my favorite sequences in the whole film. And yes, I am very familiar with the fact that you did 20 Feet from Stardom, among other things, which is one of the other reasons I really wanted to talk to you. What do you think was the most surprising thing during this process that you learned about Pharrell? And what would you say is your favorite song of his coming out on the other side of this?
I grabbed a bunch of songs from like NERD, songs like Sooner or Later or Maybe, that are not that famous, but to me, I just love those songs, and they felt like songs that were telling a story in a movie, so I love that. And I didn't, spending all that time going through all of his music, I was constantly surprised. I mean, not only, it's the hits, but it's like, oh, he's working on, he's doing this and he's doing that. I mean, it's funny, the time we've been making the movie, he hasn't bragged about this much, but he actually just finished getting a master's degree in musical composition. So, he's working on classical music and things like that. This is what he does with his spare time, and now he's going for a PhD. So, the man does not rest, and that's something I did not know. So it's something to live up to.
That's something I didn't know either. That was amazing intel. Thank you for that, Morgan. I appreciate you. If you had to do this all over again, what would you keep the same about the process, and what would you do differently?
I think if we had just had, a lot more time and money. So
that's hilarious.
Basically, the film is exactly what we wanted to make, but it just meant that we had to really work so hard. And, in animation, going backwards is hard. And so we knew that. And it's expensive to go backwards. So we really had to think like 4 steps ahead of like, what's this going to be like when it all fits together? And so, it was intense. I felt like it was like playing 4-dimensional chess for years. Trying to figure this out.
That's a good analogy. That's very visual. I love that. Speaking of chess,
the
title Piece by Piece. What does that mean to you now? Does it mean piece by piece of a person's life, piece by piece of their artistry, piece by piece of their music? What does that mean for you now?
To me, when Pharrell pitched me on this, and I first started thinking about it, I didn't kind of intentionally, I didn't want to think about the enormity of the mountain it was that we were going to climb. I thought about the path in front of me that was interesting. And it's kind of like you just take a step at a time and you go to the next thing. You don't want to have to think they're going to climb Everest. You're like, okay, I'm just going to take a step. And in a way, you put together movies that way, and you put together songs that way. And it's really just adding one thing, layering one thing on top of another. And so to me, it's the kind of the piece by piece is the creative process. It's like you're just adding ingredients and trying to make something one element at a time until suddenly it magically is finished.
I love that. You have the most beautiful way with words. And why am I surprised? I'm so not surprised by that. I shouldn't be surprised by that, because you are such a beautifully craftsman when it comes to documentarian filmmaking. You are so wonderful at it. And I am so elated that I had this opportunity to speak to you about this film. It's one of my favorites of the year. And I'm so glad that you're the person that's attached to it, because you're one of my favorite documentarians as well.
Oh, thank you. It's great talking to you.
Great talking to you too, Morgan. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
I loved my interviews this week. I had some really great people. So just to recap, check out Caddo Lake, which is streaming now
on Max. Exhibiting Forgiveness is coming to theaters on October 18th. Check out Rollerjam, which is streaming rather, on HBO Max. And now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about Woman of the Hour. This one is now streaming on Netflix, and it is the directorial debut of Anna Kendrick. If she looks familiar to you, she is the doll that's been in all those Pitch Perfect movies and a bunch of other franchises, among other things. But now she has taken on the reins of director, and people would assume, I guess, for her to do comedy because she's got such great comedy timing, or something along the a different kind of lane. But my girl decided she wanted to direct Woman of the Hour. She also plays the lead character of Cheryl Bradshaw. So this is a stranger than fiction story of an aspiring actress in the 70s version of Los Angeles, where a serial killer is in the midst of a years-long killing spree, and their lives intersect when both of them get cast on a show called The Dating Game. So The Dating Game, baby, before there was, Bumble and Match and all these other little, The League and all these other little dating apps, there was The Dating Game. And it before there was Love Connection, before there was The Bachelor, before there was The Bachelorette, before there was The all of that, there was The Dating Game. And what would happen is they would, bring one single woman on or one single man on. If it was a woman, there was 3 guys that she would interview, and there would be a screen between her and the guys so that they couldn't see each other. And she would ask them a bunch of really, kitschy, fun questions. And then at the end of this question and answer period, she would decide which one of these guys that she wanted to take on a date. Well, baby, the person that she chose to take on a date was Rodney Alcala. Rodney Alcala was the person that was running around the country killing people, but she didn't know that. But what had happened was she had an encounter with him. I think they went out immediately after, because he was like, oh, well, let's go out and get to know each other. And they went out, and she got the creepazoid vibes from him. And she was like, nope, not going to do it. And then he tried to kill somebody else. She got away. And I think that's eventually how they caught him. But Woman of the Hour chronicles all of that. And what I love about this being Anna Kendrick's directorial debut is that she shows it from a woman's point of view, and how when women say that they need help, or that they don't trust somebody, or that somebody is dangerous, how oftentimes, especially in the 70s, we were not taken seriously. I love that she keeps you riveted from one scene to the next. Your heart will be thumping, it will be pumping, and moving in a way where your heart will be up in your throat, and you'll be wondering what's coming next, although we already know what the outcome is. This is a very impressive film debut for her. I look forward to many other projects coming from her, and it makes you, more than anything else, it really makes you wonder what the vetting process is for these shows. Like, how many times have The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Love Connection, or any of these shows of this nature, The Newlywed Game, how many of these shows of this nature did they vet somebody and knew something was off, but put them on television anyway? It's that, like Arsenio used to say, things that make you go, I'm just saying. And how many of these people actually slip through the cracks more frequent? How many of these people actually slip through the cracks more frequently than we think? That's all I'm saying. It's a situation. But that is Woman of the Hour. It is streaming on Netflix right now. And I'll recap one more time. So Woman of the Hour is on Netflix, Caddo Lake and Rollerjam on HBO Max. Exhibiting Forgiveness will be in theaters on October 18th. When I come back next week on, I think it's October 20th, it might be, we're going to talk about the most talked about film of the season. Oh, that's a really bad picture of it, though. It's called Honora. I'm also going to talk about Memoir of a Snail, which I heard is a really great film, and I kind of love stop animation. I'm also going to get into The Apprentice, since we're getting closer and closer to the election, and Conclave, which I told you guys I really loved when I watched it at the Telluride Film Festival. It is a massively interesting piece. It's a massively interesting piece. Let me check these comments one more time. So yeah, M. Night does have a way of telling stories. He does. He tells stories in a way where you kind of don't want to watch, but then you can't help but watch it, and then you can't turn away. It's very is. I'm impressed with that kind of filmmaking, and I'm a fan of his. I like his movies. But anyway, I want to thank Sad Productions and Brandon for coming in live. I want to thank everybody who was watching this via Instagram. I tried something new today to do a little streaming on Instagram live while I'm doing it here. So hopefully it it's not coming off too crazy, but I really want to try to do that for y'all and tell you what's coming up. So until the next time, if you are watching this via Instagram, YouTube, Facebook Live, or LinkedIn, go to YouTube, give me a big thumbs up, and click the bell for notifications so that I know you pop by to say hi to your sister. Okay? Okay. All right. So that is it, honey, until the next time you see me. So yeah, love, peace, and hair grease until the next time. And I gotta wait for my thing. My mouse is buffering. I don't know why she buffering, but she gonna have to stop so I can get out of the podcast before it cut me off. Like, why they doing this to me? Oh my God, I can't. Okay, there we go. So love, peace, and hair grease and deuces until the next time. Bye, y'all. Now my outro don't want to play. The gremlins are coming for me. They're coming for me.